This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Indian state refiners' daily gasoline and gasoil sales declined by about a fifth in May from a month earlier as lockdowns to curb the second deadly wave of COVID-19 hit industrial activities and consumption, preliminary data showed on Tuesday. Daily gasoline sales in May fell by about 19% from April, while diesel consumption, which is linked to industrial activity and accounts for over two-fifths of India's fuel demand, fell by 19.9%, data compiled by state refiners showed. India's factory activity growth slowed significantly in May as a rise in coronavirus cases whacked new orders and output, the Nikkei Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index compiled by IHS Markit showed on Tuesday.
OPEC Plus oil producers agreed on Tuesday to stick to the existing pace of gradually easing supply curbs through July, as they sought to balance expectations of a recovery in demand against a possible increase in Iranian supply. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies, known collectively as OPEC Plus, decided in April to return 2.1 million barrels per day, BPD, of supply to the market during May through July as it anticipated demand would rise despite high numbers of coronavirus cases in India. Since that decision, oil prices have extended their rally and have now gained more than 30% this year, although the prospect of more crude from Iran, as talks on reviving its nuclear deal make progress, has limited the upside.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Iraqi oil exports stood at about 2.9 million barrels per day, BPD, in May, little changed from the previous month, the country's oil ministry said on Tuesday. Exports from Iraq's southern Basra terminals hit 2.8 million barrels of oil per day during May, the ministry said, while shipments from Kirkuk through Ceyhan averaged about 99,000 barrels of oil per day. Iraq, which is OPEC's second largest producer, relies on oil exports for nearly all its state revenue. It was hit hard by the collapse in oil prices when the COVID-19 pandemic struck and struggled to pay public sector workers.
Loopholes in China's green financing rules could allow big state-owned firms to use proceeds from carbon-neutral bonds to fund day-to-day operations including coal-fired power plants, according to research published on Tuesday. The Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis, IEEFA, examined the first batch of yuan-denominated carbon-neutral bonds issued this year by giant state-owned energy corporations such as China Energy Investment Corporation, CEIC, and the China Huaneng Group. It said 30% of proceeds from the bonds were to be allocated to the working capital of the issuers.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Gold slipped below a near 5-month price peak hit earlier in Tuesday's session, as robust U.S. manufacturing data and higher Treasury yields dented its appeal. Spot gold fell 0.5% at $1,897.96 per ounce at 10:22 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 14:22 GMT, after touching its highest since January 8 at $1,916.40. U.S. gold futures eased 0.1% at $1,903.30. Gold has had a small setback as U.S. equities are continuing to power through, Treasury yields are starting to go up, and on better manufacturing data, Philip Streibel, chief market strategist at Blue Line Futures in Chicago, said. Investors might think that the Federal Reserve is going to taper policy faster than anticipated, he added.
Copper prices gave up some gains on Tuesday in choppy trade as lower physical demand in top consumer China offset upbeat manufacturing activity in major economies and supply concerns. Benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange eased 0.2% to $10,252 per ton by 16:16 GMT, after trading higher earlier in the session. There is a tug-of-war between bears and bulls in the copper market, said Gian Claudio Terlizzi, partner at consultancy T Commodity. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Ag-Rural, a Brazilian agribusiness consultancy, on Tuesday announced a new forecast reduction for the country's second corn crop because of a severe drought, adding that yields are expected to touch a 5-year low this season. Agri said in a statement that Brazilian farmers in the Center-South are now expected to produce 60 million tons of second corn, a 5 million ton reduction from a forecast in May and a 17 million ton reduction from Agri's initial projection for this year's second corn crop. Regarding yields, Agri expects farmers will harvest 77.560 kilogram bags per hectare, the lowest for the Center-South since 2016.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.